As always, my name's Chris Rainey, co-founder of HRD Leaders and host of the HR Leaders podcast. On today's show, we're going to be talking about how to build your analytics function. Before we get started, let me introduce my co-host, Matt Burns, Chief HR Officer over at Yusk. I'm really excited to be joined by Anthony Oland, Senior Vice President and Global Talent Lead at WPP, and Davide Cervellin, Director of Analytics EMEA over at PayPal. I suppose let's start with the obvious question of, how to build your analytics function. If we're an organization building our analytics function, where do we start?
Well, it's a very broad question, Chris, and I'll try to tackle it in a few minutes. So, and it's a question that I get asked quite a lot because I have the privilege of working for a company that is digital in nature. And so nobody really is asking the question, what is the value of analytics? Where do we put analytics? We just exist as a fundamental component of how company makes decisions. But if a company, doesn't have that privilege and they came from a world in which analytics was not part of their DNA, they have to think about fundamental questions like, what kind of person do I need? Where do I put them in the organization? What can I expect them to deliver? I guess we can say the best place where to put the analytics function usually is outside of the business and in a central function. So that's why you hear things like a chief data officer, reporting to the CEO. They are the voice of the truth, right? And therefore, they allow the CEO to have an oversight on all numbers, all models, all forecasts, these things that really help understand where to steer the business and what is happening when I deploy my resources and what reasonably I can expect back for the investments that I make. Most likely, there are a lot of analysts already in your company. I'm sure of that, because numbers are already trickling down in functions like supply chain, logistics, sales, marketing. So the reality is the exercise at the very beginning is about understanding where these people sit and put them together in an organic function.
As business goes forward, I think we need to move away from silos, period. And particularly for a new function like data that may not be understood by all the functions to its full capacity yet, I think all the more reason to align up front. So, as an HR professional, the strongest partnerships I have are with my senior members of my team, whether it's the CFO, the CIO, the CMO, and now in this case, the CDO. Those are critical partnerships that I need to enable my team to help enable the organization.
And HR is great at saying, here's the trend analysis, right? Here's why people have left the organization. Here's how many people have left the organization. Here's how many people we've hired. But when you talk about the predictive side, that's really where the CFO and the CEO want to have the conversation. If you walk in and you say, turnover is high this year, but the CFO has just met with the CEO and said, revenue and profits are high this year, but your point doesn't resonate. If you can talk about how that trend is going to have an impact on top line revenue or on profitability, then suddenly you have a conversation. But that takes very sophisticated insights. There are people who do basic modeling, kind of moving the data around to make it in a viewable form. And then there's very sophisticated analytics on the predictive side and attribution. And so I've been fortunate in the past 4 years of working with data and analytics people in our world-class offering to clients and bringing that into the HR function.